she had $47, a borrowed blazer, and a manila folder held together with a rubber band. That's what Elena Vargas walked into a courtroom with. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, that cold government building air that gets into your bones. And there she was, standing behind a wooden table, completely alone. Her shoes were scuffed. The blazer didn't fit right. Inside that folder was basically her entire life. Notes, printouts, stuff she'd highlighted at 2 a.m. while her eyes were barely open. Across the aisle, 4 lawyers. 4. Tailored suits, gold pens, leather briefcases that probably cost more than her rent for 3 months. And behind them, her ex-husband Marcus leaned back in his chair like he already knew the ending. The judge looked over his glasses. "Ms. Vargas, do you have legal representation?" The whole room went quiet. Elena swallowed, and she said, "No, Your Honor, I represent myself." Someone on Marcus's side actually laughed. One of the lawyers covered his mouth, but everybody heard it. Elena didn't sit down. She didn't walk out. She kept standing. Because somewhere across town, a 5-year-old girl was waiting for her mommy to come home. And that was enough. This is her story, the life before. To understand how Elena ended up in that courtroom, you have to go back to when things actually looked like they were going to be okay for once. Elena was 22, working double shifts at a diner off the interstate. Coffee always burnt, tips never enough. Every shift 3 hours longer than it needed to be. She'd been on her own since she was 17. No degree, no safety net, no nothing. Just a girl with tired hands who was too stubborn to ask anybody for help. Then, one night, Marcus walks in. And look, he was different from the usual crowd. Pressed shirt, nice cologne, the kind of guy who looked like he didn't belong in a diner like that. He sat in her section, ordered a black coffee, and left a $40 tip on a $3 check. Elena thought it was a mistake. But he came back the next night, and the night after that. 3 months later, they're dating. 6 months after that, she's moved into his apartment, this nice 2-bedroom overlooking the river. And Elena's thinking, man, I never thought I'd see a view like this from the inside. Marcus was charming. He told her she didn't have to work anymore. He'd handle everything. And honestly, after years of barely getting by, that sounded like a dream. So she believed him. She quit her job. She kind of drifted away from her friends. Not because he told her to exactly, but because his world was just so different from theirs. And slowly, without her even noticing, her whole life became his life. His apartment, his schedule, his rules. They got married. Small ceremony. His mom, Patricia, showed up with this tight little smile and a handshake that honestly felt more like a warning than a welcome. Elena's mom, Rosa, cried in the back row. Happy but worried. You know how moms are. She'd seen this movie before. A woman giving up everything for a man with a nice smile. But Elena didn't listen. Because for the first time in her life, she felt safe. And then Lily came along. Born on a Tuesday morning in March, 6 pounds, 11 ounces, full head of dark hair and the loudest lungs in the entire maternity ward. Elena held her for the first time and something just clicked. I don't know how else to describe it. Like her whole life suddenly made sense. Like everything she'd been through was just the road that led her to this tiny person. She whispered in Lily's ear, "I'll do anything for you. Anything." and she meant it. But the thing about a promise like that, life has a way of making you prove it. The crack. For the first couple years, things were fine. Not great, fine. Marcus worked late a lot. Elena stayed home with Lily. The apartment got quiet. Too quiet sometimes. And she started noticing things. Little things. His phone always face down on the counter. A business trip that lasted a whole week, but he came back with 0 stories. The way he'd look at his screen and get this little smile. A smile she hadn't seen pointed at her in months. She told herself she was imagining things. That's just what marriage looks like after a baby, right? You're tired, you're distant. It's normal. Until the night she found the messages. She wasn't even snooping. Lily had a fever, Elena's phone was dead. She grabbed Marcus's phone to call the pediatrician. And the screen lit up with a name she didn't recognize and a message that said, "I miss you already." 3 words. That's all it took for her whole world to crack. She confronted him that night, and she wasn't screaming or throwing things. She was just standing in the kitchen, arms wrapped around herself, and she asked him, "Who is she?" And you know what Marcus said? He didn't deny it, didn't apologize. He looked at her with this coldness she'd never seen before and said, "You should have stayed grateful. You should have stayed grateful." That's what he said to her. Like she owed him something for loving her. Like the price of being taken care of was keeping your mouth shut while he did whatever he wanted. The next morning, he told her to leave. His apartment, his life, his terms. So Elena packed one bag, Lily's favorite blanket, a few onesies, her toothbrush, and $47 in crumpled bills from the bottom of her purse. That was literally everything she had. No savings, no car, no job, no plan. Just a mother and her baby, standing on a sidewalk at 7 a.m. with nowhere to go. She called her mom. Rosa answered on the second ring and said what moms always say, "Come home." Now, home was a 1-bedroom apartment above a laundromat. The radiator rattled, the walls were paper thin, but it had a lock on the door and a couch where Elena could curl up with Lily and at least pretend things were going to be okay. They weren't. 3 days later, there's a knock on the door. Some guy in a gray suit hands Elena an envelope. Inside are 2 documents. First one, divorce papers. Second one, a petition for full custody of Lily Marie Vargas, filed by Marcus Anthony Whitfield III. With his fancy law firm and his family money and his 4-bedroom house in a nice school district. He didn't just want out of the marriage. He wanted Lily. All of her. Every birthday, every first day of school, every goodnight kiss. And Elena? She was supposed to just disappear. The first hearing. So Elena walks into this family courthouse, and it smells exactly how you'd expect. Old carpet and bad decisions. She's carrying a folder she put together herself. Printed stuff from free legal aid websites, handwritten notes, and a photo of Lily tucked in the front pocket. Not as evidence, just so she'd remember why she was doing this. She got there 40 minutes early, sat on a bench in the hallway, watched her own hands shake. Then Marcus showed up. And honestly, it was like watching 2 different worlds collide. He came through those doors like he was walking into a board meeting. 4 attorneys behind him, each one carrying bags stuffed with documents. And behind them, his mother, Patricia. Chin up, pearls on, heels clicking on the tile like a countdown. Marcus walked right past Elena, didn't nod, didn't say a word. Just looked at her the way you'd look at someone who accidentally sat in your chair. Inside the courtroom, it was worse than she imagined. Marcus's lead attorney, this woman named Catherine Blake, she spoke first. Voice smooth as glass, every word rehearsed. Your Honor, my client is a successful financial consultant earning over $300,000 a year. He owns a 4-bedroom home in a top-rated school district. He has the full support of his family, including his mother, a retired school administrator, who will provide full-time childcare. She let all those numbers just hang in the air for a minute. Then she went after Elena. The respondent is currently unemployed. She lives in a 1-bedroom apartment with her elderly mother. She has no income, no savings, no health insurance, and no plan for the child's education or development. And I mean, when you lay it out like that on paper, it sounds bad. It sounds really bad. And Elena could feel every single one of those words landing like a punch. When it was her turn, her voice cracked on the first word. Your Honor, I'm Lily's mother. That was supposed to be the beginning of a whole speech. She'd practiced it the night before in the bathroom mirror while Lily slept on the couch. But standing there under those lights, with all those eyes on her, the words just vanished. She tried again. I know I don't have what he has. I don't have the house or the money or the lawyers. But I'm the one who held her when she was sick. I'm the one who sings to her every night. I'm the one who knows she's afraid of thunderstorms, and her favorite color changes every week, and she won't eat anything unless it's cut into triangles. And for a second, you could feel the room shift. Just a little. Then Catherine Blake stood back up and said, Your Honor, emotional attachment does not equate to parental fitness. Just like that, shut it down. The judge looked at both sides, shuffled some papers, and then he said the words that changed everything. This court grants temporary primary custody to the father. Temporary. That word was supposed to mean there's still hope. But if you've ever dealt with family court, you know that temporary has a funny way of becoming forever. The lawyers shook hands. Marcus straightened his tie and walked out without looking back. And then they brought Lily out. This little girl comes running out of a side room, arms wide open, face all lit up, completely clueless that the whole world just got rearranged underneath her. Mommy, are we going home now? And Elena got down on her knees and pulled that child so close she could feel her heartbeat. And she said, Not today, baby, but soon, I promise. Lily didn't scream, didn't throw a tantrum. She just held on tighter. Like she understood something that no 5-year-old should ever have to understand. They led Lily to Marcus's black SUV, and Elena stood in that parking lot and watched her daughter's face pressed against the tinted window as the car pulled away. Then she was alone. Standing in the sun. She felt like she was made of absolutely nothing. She walked to the bus stop, sat down, opened her folder, and looked at Lily's photo. And right there, on that metal bench, she made a decision. She didn't know how, she didn't know when, but she was getting her daughter back. Not with money, not with lawyers, not with power, with whatever she had left, which at that point was basically just herself. The weight of the world. Elena found work within a week. And when I say work, I don't mean a job. I mean 3 jobs. 5 a.m., she's behind the counter at a coffee shop. You know the kind. People rushing in, not looking up from their phones, sliding their cards, grabbing their drinks. Gone. Elena smiled at every single one of them. Not because she felt like smiling, because tips were the difference between eating dinner and skipping it. 1 in the afternoon, she's cleaning offices downtown. 3 floors, 14 bathrooms. Mopping, scrubbing, emptying trash cans. She did it with earbuds in, but she wasn't listening to anything. Because music reminded her of Lily, and she couldn't afford to break down in a supply closet. 7 p.m., she's at her mom's kitchen table doing data entry for a temp agency. Names, numbers, rose on a screen until her eyes burned and her fingers went numb. Some nights she made $40. Some nights she made 12, and every penny went into an envelope taped inside a cereal box. I know that sounds crazy, but she didn't trust banks. Marcus had drained their joint account once without even telling her, so cereal box it was. But here's the thing nobody tells you. Working hard isn't always enough. The world doesn't just magically open doors because you're trying. She called a landlord about an apartment. How many incomes in the household? 1. And you're a single mother? The unit was suddenly rented. Elena called back from a different number an hour later. Still available. Funny how that works. She applied for 3 more places that month. 2 never called back. 1 brought her in for a viewing and then sent a rejection email the next day with no explanation. And look, there are actual statistics on this. 59% of single parents say they've experienced discrimination because of their status. Elena didn't need a statistic to tell her that. She lived it every day. At the coffee shop, her manager pulled her aside one morning. Elena, you were 4 minutes late twice this week. I need people I can count on. 4 minutes, because the bus was late, and the bus is always late when you can't afford a car. But worse than the landlords, worse than the bosses, worse than all of it, was the whispering. Her old neighborhood, the people who knew her as Mrs. Whitfield, they had opinions now. The women at the grocery store who used to smile at her were suddenly looking away. Or worse, they'd look right at her with that head tilt. You know the one, that "oh, honey" face. Did you hear about Elena? Marcus left her. Well, she never really fit in with that family. I heard she's back living with her mother. That poor child. Every whisper was a little cut, and she bled from all of them. But she kept going, kept showing up, until the night her own mother sat her down. Rosa made tea, 2 cups, no sugar. And if you know Rosa, you know that 2 cups of tea with no sugar means something heavy is coming. Mija, I need to say something, and I need you to listen. Elena already knew. She could feel it before the words even came out. Maybe Lily would be better off with Marcus. And look, before you judge Rosa, hear me out. She wasn't being cruel. She was watching her daughter kill herself. 3 jobs, no sleep, barely eating. And on the other side was a man with a big house and money and lawyers. Rosa was being practical. She was being a mother trying to save her child in the only way she knew how. But it gutted Elena. Mama, if I let her go now, I'll never get her back. Not because of the court, because of what it would do to me. I wouldn't survive it. Rose's eyes filled with tears. Then what are you going to do? Elena stared at the wall, at the same crack in the plaster that had been there since she was a kid. I don't know yet, she said. But by the next morning, she did. The spark. Saturday, visitation day. Elena took 2 buses to get to Marcus's house. 2 buses. And then she stood at the gate of a property that used to be her home and pressed a buzzer. Like a visitor. Like a stranger who needed permission to see her own kid. The nanny, a young woman named Grace, brought Lily to the door. You have 3 hours, Miss Vargas. Miss Vargas. Not Elena. Not Lily's mom. Miss Vargas. She swallowed it. All of it. Because the second Lily saw her, that little girl's face just exploded into the biggest smile you've ever seen, and suddenly none of the rest of it mattered. They went to the park, fed the ducks, shared a peanut butter sandwich Elena had made at 5 a.m, and Lily talked and talked about her new room, the big TV, how Grandma Patricia makes her eat broccoli even though she hates it. Then Lily said something that stopped Elena cold. But Mommy, my room doesn't have the stars. The stars? The glow-in-the-dark ones. The ones you put on my ceiling, remember? You stood on the chair and Daddy said you were going to fall, and you said... I said, if I fall, at least you'll have the whole sky above you. Yeah, that. I don't know how Elena held it together in that moment. I honestly don't. When the 3 hours were up, she walked Lily back to the gate, knelt down to say goodbye, and Lily pulled something out of her little backpack, a piece of paper, folded twice. Crayon everywhere. I made this for you, Mommy. Elena unfolded it, and it was a drawing, 2 stick figures, one tall, one small, standing in front of a house. Yellow sun, purple door, and across the top, in wobbly little kid handwriting, it said, Me and Mommy's house. Elena pressed it against her chest. It's beautiful, baby. That's our house. The one we're going to live in, right, Mommy? And Elena looked at those big, trusting eyes and said the only thing she could say. Right. Our house. She held it together until the gate closed, until the door shut, until she couldn't see Lily anymore. Then she walked to the bus stop, sat down, and just cried. Right there on the bench, in public, she just let it all out. But somewhere between the tears and the bus engine and this strange feeling like the whole universe was paying attention, something clicked. She wasn't going to win this with money. She didn't have any. She wasn't going to win it with connections or status or some fancy degree. But maybe she could win it with knowledge. Next morning, she walked into the public library on Elm Street. She'd been there before, checking out picture books for Lily. But this time, she walked past the kids section, past the fiction shelves, past the magazines, all the way to the back of the building, to a room she didn't even know existed, the law section. Big, thick books with gold letters on the spines, case law, family code, legal procedure. She pulled one off the shelf, opened it to a random page, read 3 sentences, and understood exactly 0 of them. She almost put it back. Can I help you? There was a man behind a desk she hadn't noticed. Older guy, mid-60s, white hair, reading glasses on his nose. His name tag said, Arthur Warren, Library Assistant. I need to learn about custody law, Elena said. He looked at her for a long moment, not judging, not pitying, more like he recognized her, like he'd seen 100 women standing in that exact spot before. Are you a student? No. A paralegal? No, I'm a mother. He nodded, got up, walked to a shelf and pulled out 3 books. Start with this one, Plain English. Then this one, Case Studies. Third one's Procedure, how to file motions, present evidence, speak in court without a lawyer. Elena looked at the stack. How long will it take? How badly do you want it? She thought about the drawing. 2 stick figures, purple door, yellow sun. More than anything I've ever wanted. Mr. Warren gave her this small, tired smile. Then sit down, Miss Vargas. We've got work to do. Arthur Warren wasn't a lawyer. He'd been a paralegal for 31 years. Spent his whole career watching regular people get crushed by a system built for people with money. When he retired, he started volunteering at the library, not to organize books, to help people like Elena. He didn't fight her battle for her. He taught her how to fight it herself. Every night after her 3rd job, Elena showed up at that library, same table in the back corner. She read until the words blurred, took notes in a dollar store notebook, filling page after page with case numbers and legal terms she memorized like they were prayers. She learned what a motion to modify custody was. She learned the difference between legal custody and physical custody. She learned that a judge can reverse a temporary order if things have materially changed. She learned that best interest of the child doesn't mean most money. Some nights she got it. Some nights she didn't. Some nights she fell asleep at the table, and Mr. Warren would tap her shoulder and say, "Go home, Elena. The law will still be here tomorrow." And every single night before she left, she'd pull out Lily's drawing. Look at those 2 stick figures. Fold it back up and walk out into the dark. One more night closer. Small victories, big setbacks. So Elena files her first legal motion on a Tuesday afternoon. She's standing at the courthouse clerk's window with this stack of papers she typed up on the library computer. Every margin perfect, every citation in place, checked it like 11 times. The clerk flips through the pages, stamps the first one, then stops. "You're missing Form FC-12. Elena's like, "I'm missing what?" FC-12, Financial Disclosure Supplement. Can't process this without it. And just like that, 3 weeks of work. 3 weeks of staying up till 2 a.m., learning words she'd never heard before, putting them together into sentences that were supposed to help save her daughter. All of it stopped by one form she didn't know existed. She walked out of that courthouse and sat on the steps. Didn't even cry. She was past crying at that point. Just sat there, staring at pigeons on the sidewalk like maybe they had answers. Then she went back to the library. And you know what Mr. Warren did? He didn't say, "I told you so," didn't sigh, didn't shake his head. He just pulled out the form, showed her where to find it online, and said, "Well, now you'll never forget FC-12 again." 10 days later, she refiled. This time, everything was perfect. The motion asked for one thing, 1 additional day per week with her daughter. That's it. Not custody, not yet. just one more day. At the hearing, Catherine Blake argued that any change would disrupt the child's routine. She used words like stability and consistency and established environment, and honestly, every one of those words felt like a door closing. But this time, Elena was ready. She stood up, still nervous, still shaking a little, but she spoke clearly. Your Honor, I'm not asking to disrupt my daughter's life. I'm asking to be part of it. I see her 2 days a month under supervision. I'm requesting one more day so I can take her to the park, help with her homework, just be there for the small stuff that makes a kid feel loved. Then she did something that caught the whole room off guard. She cited a case. A real legal case she found at the library at 11:30 at night while her back ached from the cleaning job. A case that said limiting a fit parent's access without evidence of harm is not in the child's best interest. The judge listened, looked at both sides. Motion granted. One additional weekday visit unsupervised. Elena's knees almost buckled. 1 day. That's all it was. But she fought for it with her own words and her own research, and she won it. She called Mr. Warren from the bus that night. We got it. She could hear him smiling through the phone. That's one. Keep going. But here's the thing about guys like Marcus. They don't like losing, even if it's small. 2 weeks later, a car showed up on Elena's street. Dark sedan, tinted windows, always parked in the same spot. There when she left for work in the morning, there when she came home at night. She told herself it was nothing. Neighbors guessed. Coincidence. Then the photos showed up in court. Marcus's lawyers filed a motion to reduce Elena's visitation, and attached to it were these high-resolution, time-stamped photographs. Elena asleep at the coffee shop counter during a break. Elena carrying groceries in the rain, looking like she hadn't slept in a week. Elena at the bus stop at midnight with her head in her hands. They'd hired a private investigator to follow a single mother working 3 jobs, and they used those photos to paint a picture. Catherine Blake stood up and said, Your Honor, Miss Vargas is visibly exhausted, potentially unstable. She sleeps at her workplace. She is frequently seen in states of distress. We question whether this lifestyle is safe for a child. And Elena wanted to scream. She wanted to stand up and say, I look like this because I'm fighting for my daughter. I look like this because I work 3 jobs, because your client took everything from me and I'm still here. But she didn't, because she'd learned something from those law books. Emotion doesn't win cases. Evidence does. And right now, all the evidence was a bunch of photos that made her look broken. The judge reviewed everything, and then he said, Weekday visitation is suspended. Gone. Just like that. The one day she fought so hard for, ripped away because some guy with a camera caught her being tired. And it got worse. Marcus's team filed another motion. Replace all in-person visits with video calls, 30 minutes, twice a week, citing her unpredictable schedule and unstable living situation. The judge approved it. 30 minutes on a screen. That was all she had left. The first video call almost broke her. Lily showed up on the screen wearing a dress Elena had never seen. Her hair was pulled back tight the way Patricia liked it, not the loose ponytail Elena always gave her. And she was sitting too straight, too still, like someone had told her how to sit. Hi, Mommy. "Hi, baby. How are you?" "I'm okay." But she wasn't okay. Elena could see it. The way her eyes kept darting to the side, like someone was watching. Then Lily said, "Mommy, did I do something wrong?" That question, from a 5-year-old, on a screen. "What? No, baby, why would you say that?" "Because you don't come anymore. You used to come every time, and now you don't. So did I do something bad?" Elena put her hand on the screen, like she could reach through it, like all the glass and the pixels and the miles of distance meant nothing against the force of a mother needing to hold her child. "You didn't do anything wrong. Nothing. This is not your fault. Mommy is coming back, I promise. I'm coming back for you." Lily nodded, small, not fully convinced. "Okay, Mommy." The call ended. 30 minutes, that was it. Elena closed her laptop, sat in the quiet for a long, long time. Then she opened her notebook, and she kept going. The darkest night. The next 4 months were the worst of Elena's life, and I say that knowing everything she'd already been through. She lost the coffee shop job, not because she was bad at it, but because she kept showing up a few minutes late, because her body was shutting down. 3 jobs, law study till 2 a.m., 4 hours of sleep, repeat. Something was going to give. Her schedule gave first. Her manager handed her the last check and said, "Nothing personal. I just need someone reliable." Reliable. This woman had been working since she was 16, never called in sick, never complained. But she was late a few times because she was up every night teaching herself the law to save her daughter, and that made her unreliable. Without the coffee shop money, the math just stopped working. Cleaning and data entry weren't enough for rent, food, bus fare, and the filing fees that kept stacking up. The landlord left a notice on the door. 2 months behind, 14 days to pay or get out. Rosa picked up extra shifts at the bakery, but she was 61 with bad knees. Her hands shook when she kneaded dough for too long. But she did it anyway, because that's what mothers do, even when their bodies are telling them to stop. Then a letter came. Thick, cream-colored paper, gold-embossed letterhead from Marcus's law firm. Elena read it at the kitchen table while Rosa was asleep. The offer was this. Elena gives up all custody rights to Lily. In exchange, Marcus pays her $50,000, no child support obligations, and she gets to send birthday cards and holiday gifts, subject to approval. Birthday cards and holiday gifts, subject to approval. That was the deal. They were offering her $50,000 to become a stranger to her own child. And honestly, for the first time, she actually thought about it. Not because she wanted to give up, but because she was so tired, so completely, bone deep, down to the marrow tired that the idea of just stopping, of putting this weight down and walking away, felt like coming up for air after drowning. $50,000 was more than she'd earned in the past 2 years combined. It would clear the rent, buy a car, give her a clean start somewhere far away from this courthouse and these lawyers and the man who weaponized her love against her. She sat at that kitchen table until 3 a.m, staring at the letter. Rosa found her there. "Mija? They want me to sign Lily away for $50,000. Rosa sat down, looked at the letter, looked at her daughter. "Maybe it's time to let go." "You keep saying that, Mama." Because I'm watching you die, Elena. You don't sleep. You don't eat. You work till your hands bleed and study till you can't see straight. And they have everything. Everything. And we have... She looked around the apartment. The cracked wall, the rattling radiator, the couch that still had a blanket on it that smelled like lily because Elena refused to wash it. We have nothing. Elena didn't argue, because by every number, every measurement, every standard the world uses to judge a person's worth, Rosa was right. She picked up a pen. She pulled the letter closer. She looked at the dotted line where her signature would go, the line that would end everything, the line that would set her free and trap her forever at the same time. Her hand was right there, right over the page. And then she turned the letter over. And behind it, tucked in the envelope, folded twice, smudged with crayon, was Lily's drawing, the one she carried everywhere. She'd slipped it in there without thinking, using it as a bookmark. But now, at 3 a.m., in a kitchen that smelled like cold tea and exhaustion, it was looking right at her. 2 stick figures, purple door, yellow sun. Me and Mommy's house. She turned it over. And on the back, in shaky, crooked 5-year-old handwriting, were 4 words she'd never noticed before. Words Lily must have written in secret, maybe under the covers with a flashlight, the way kids do when they have something really important to say. My mommy is the strongest. Elena stared at those words until she couldn't see them anymore. She put down the pen. She picked up the letter, and she tore it in half. Then in quarters. Then into pieces so small they looked like confetti. Rosa just watched. Elena grabbed her phone. 3:17 in the morning. She dialed anyway. Mr. Warren picked up on the 4th ring, groggy but alert, like he'd been waiting for this call. Arthur, I need one more hearing. I know the law. I know my case. I just need to get in front of that judge one more time. Do you have new evidence? Elena thought about Grace, the nanny, the one who was inside that house every single day, who saw Marcus gone for weeks at a time, saw Patricia's cold discipline, heard Lily crying for her mother every night. No one had ever asked Grace what she'd seen. Not Marcus's lawyers, not the court, nobody. Yeah, I have a witness they don't know about. Long pause. Then file the motion tomorrow. And Elena? Yeah? Don't miss any forms. She almost laughed. She hung up, looked at the confetti on the table, looked at Lily's drawing in her hand. She had absolutely nothing left to lose. And you know what? That made her the most dangerous person in that courtroom. The final hearing. 6 weeks later, Elena walked back into that courtroom. Same lights, same cold air, same everything. But she was different. You could see it the second she walked in. Same borrowed blazer, same manila folder with the rubber band. Still no lawyer beside her, but her back was straight. Her eyes were clear. And that folder wasn't full of prayers anymore. It was full of law. Marcus showed up the way he always did. 4 attorneys, nice suit. Patricia in the gallery with her arms crossed. He sat down, adjusted his cufflinks, and didn't look at Elena. Opened with the same playbook. Numbers. Your Honor, nothing has materially changed. Mr. Whitfield provides a stable, high-income household. The child is thriving. We ask the court to make the current arrangement permanent. Permanent. That word just hung in the air. The judge turned to Elena. Ms. Vargas, you may present your case. And she stood up. But this time she didn't grip the table, didn't apologize, didn't hesitate. She just talked. Your Honor, 14 months ago I stood in this room and I couldn't finish a sentence. No lawyer, no income, no home. And the court looked at those facts and made a decision based on what it could measure. She paused. But there are things a courtroom can't measure, and that's what I'm here to talk about. She opened her folder. I've kept a journal since the day Lily was born. Not a legal document, a mother's record. 5 years of entries, every fever, every nightmare, every first word, every scraped knee, every song I sang to get her to sleep. I know the name of every doctor, every dentist, every teacher she's had. I know she's afraid of loud dogs, but not small ones. I know she won't drink milk unless it's in the blue cup. I know that when she's really sad, she doesn't cry. She goes quiet. And honestly, that scares me more than the crying ever could. Then she looked across the aisle at Marcus. I'd like to ask Mr. Whitfield 3 questions. What's the name of Lily's kindergarten teacher? What's her favorite bedtime story? And what does she do when she's afraid of the dark? Silence. Catherine Blake leaned over to Marcus. He whispered something. She whispered back. He shook his head. The judge watched all of this. Mr. Whitfield, you're not required to answer, but the court notes the hesitation. Marcus didn't say a word, and for the first time in this whole thing, he actually looked uncomfortable. Elena kept going. Your Honor, I also have a witness, someone who's been inside the Whitfield home every day for the past 14 months, someone nobody thought to ask. Jumped up. Objection! No advance notice! The witness was disclosed in my filing 6 days ago, Elena said. Calm, clear. Like a woman who'd read the rules of procedure 100 times and was not about to get caught on a technicality again. The judge checked. She was right. The witness may take the stand. Grace Amara walked in wearing a simple blouse and dark slacks, 26 years old, Lily's nanny for over a year. She sat down, took the oath, and folded her hands. Elena asked her questions the way Mr. Warren taught her, respectful, straightforward, no drama. Grace, how often is Mr. Whitfield home in the evening? Grace glanced at Marcus, then answered. He travels a lot. Most weeks he's home 2, maybe 3 nights, sometimes less. Who takes care of Lily when he's gone? I do, and sometimes his mother. How would you describe Mrs. Whitfield's parenting style? Grace paused. You could tell this was hard for her. She's strict, very structured. There's a schedule for everything. If Lily doesn't follow it, there are consequences. Early bedtime, no dessert. One time she took away Lily's crayons for a whole week because she drew on the dining table. Elena kept her face steady, but you could see her jaw tighten. Does Lily ever ask about her mother? And this is where Grace's voice started to break. Every night. Every single night. She asks when her mommy is coming. She asks if her mommy is okay. She has this little blanket, the one Miss Vargas sent with her that first day. It's literally falling apart. But Lily won't let anyone wash it because she says it still smells like her mom. The whole courtroom went silent. Like you could hear people breathing. Elena had one more question. Grace, in your honest observation, who does Lily want to be with? Shot up. Objection! That calls for speculation. The judge held up his hand. I'll allow it. Grace looked at Elena, then at the judge. Lily wants her mother. And that's not me guessing. That's what she tells me every single night when I tuck her in. She says, "Good night, Grace. Tell Mommy I love her." Every night, without fail. Elena sat down. Her hands were shaking, but her voice had never been stronger. Marcus was staring at the table. Patricia's face was stone. Catherine Blake was shuffling papers that didn't seem to matter anymore. The judge called a 30-minute recess. It lasted an hour. When he came back, that courtroom was filled with the heaviest silence I can describe. The kind that presses on your ears. The kind where you can feel your own heartbeat. Elena sat with her hands flat on the table. Marcus was across the aisle, and for the first time, he wasn't leaning back. He was hunched forward, staring at the wood, like he was searching for something he lost a long time ago. The judge put on his glasses, opened a folder, read for a moment. Then he looked up. I've been on this bench for 23 years. I've seen parents with unlimited resources and parents with nothing. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. You cannot buy a child's love. You can buy tutors, private schools, 4-bedroom houses, but you cannot buy the thing that makes a child feel safe at 3 a.m. when the world is dark and scary and nothing makes sense. He paused. This court has seen Ms. Vargas at her lowest. Unemployed, struggling, imperfect by every metric we use to measure fitness. But this court has also seen something it rarely sees. A parent who taught herself the law, filed her own motions, corrected her own mistakes, and stood in this room again and again. Not with an army of attorneys, with a mother's journal and a child's drawing. He looked at Marcus. Mr. Whitfield, this court does not question your ability to provide financially, but providing for a child and being present for a child are not the same thing. He straightened his papers. It is the ruling of this court that primary physical custody of Lily Marie Vargas is awarded to her mother, Elena Vargas. Elena didn't scream, didn't jump up, didn't collapse. She just closed her eyes, and for the first time in 14 months, she breathed. Then she heard the courtroom door open behind her. Little footsteps, fast ones, running. Mommy! She turned around and Lily just crashed into her. Full speed, no hesitation, the way only a kid can love. All in, no conditions, no holding back. I knew you'd come, Mommy. I knew it! And Elena held her so tight, the rest of the world just disappeared. The lawyers, the judge, the lights, Marcus, Patricia, all of it, gone. Nothing existed except this woman and this little girl and the sound of 2 hearts beating against each other. Marcus stood up slowly, looked at Elena for a long moment, not angry, Not defeated exactly. Something more complicated than that. Maybe the first flicker of understanding. Patricia walked out without a word, heels clicking down the hallway until they faded into nothing. Catherine Blake closed her briefcase, gave Elena the tiniest nod, and left. And Elena stayed right there, on the courtroom floor, holding her daughter, rocking back and forth, whispering, "We're going home, baby. We're going home." Years later, 7 years passed. Elena never became a lawyer. She didn't need to. She got certified as a paralegal, and she specialized in the one thing she knew better than anybody on this planet: custody cases for mothers who can't afford lawyers. She worked at this little legal aid office downtown. Flickering lights, burnt coffee, a waiting room full of women who looked exactly like she did that first day in court. Scared, alone, sure the system was going to swallow them whole. And Elena would sit across from every single one of them, open a notebook, and say the same thing. "Tell me about your child." Not your case, not your finances, your child. Because she knew that's where the fight starts. Lily turned 12, and she was something else, man. Sharp, brave, funny in that way kids are when they've seen too much too young, but chose to laugh instead of shut down. She played soccer, read books that were probably too old for her, and fought with Elena about screen time and whether pineapple belongs on pizza. Normal stuff. Beautiful stuff. One evening, Elena came home and Rosa was sitting on the couch. The same couch from the old apartment, the one Elena kept through every move, every chapter of this whole story. Rosa had 2 cups of tea, no sugar, and Elena thought, "Oh boy, here we go." "Mija, sit down. I need to tell you something." Elena sat. "I was wrong." Rosa's hands were shaking, and it wasn't from age. It was from the weight of something she'd been carrying for years. "When I told you to let Lily go, when I said Marcus could give her more, I was wrong. You were always enough. You were always more than enough. And I'm sorry it took me so long to say that." Elena took her mom's hands. "You were scared, Mama. So was I. But you didn't quit." "No, I didn't." And they just sat there, 2 women, 2 mothers, connected by the same stubborn, terrifying, unshakable love that carried them both through the worst of it. Marcus changed too, for what it's worth. Not overnight, not in some big dramatic way, but slowly. He started showing up for Lily's soccer games, called on school nights, never missed another birthday. He and Elena were never going to be friends, but they became something harder and rarer than friendship. They became good parents, together but apart, on the same team for the first time ever. And in Elena's office, this little room with a window overlooking a parking lot and a second-hand filing cabinet, there was one thing on the wall: a drawing, faded now, creased from being folded and unfolded 1,000 times, crayon lines softened with age but still there. 2 stick figures, purple door, yellow sun. Me and Mommy's house. I think about Elena sometimes, not the courtroom version, not the big victory moment. I think about her on that bus bench at midnight, holding a folder together with a rubber band, wondering if any of it was going to matter. Because that's the part nobody sees, the in-between, the nights where you don't know if you're brave or just too tired to quit. She walked into that courtroom with $47 and a borrowed blazer. She walked out holding her daughter. And I don't think there's a lesson in that. Not really. It's not a formula. It's not work hard and everything works out. Sometimes it doesn't. Elena got lucky in some ways and unlucky in 100 others. But she showed up every single time, even when she had no reason to believe it would change anything. And maybe that's the whole thing. Not winning, just refusing to stop. Anyway, that's Elena's story. I'm glad I got to tell it.